Thomas Frank. So,
Well, interesting. We've just heard from Kuti Romero,
oh, oh,
and he
is it
says,
a goodbye to Ange or
yeah, but it's very suspicious timing, isn't it? Um,
very?
he says, Ange, thank you for these two incredible seasons. You're a fantastic coach, but above all, a great person who deserves the best. From day one, you've paved the way despite many obstacles that always existed and always will exist. Beyond everything, we won a trophy and went down in history of this beautiful club, which is the only thing that matters. I wish you the best because you deserve the best, and thank you for everything.
Very suspicious timing.
What do you think he
Um,
means by obstacles that exist and that will always exist?
Definitely at a shot at we you know who. I think. I think that's clear as day. If you just said obstacles that exist, I think you could say, oh, he's talking about the injuries and all these different things, right? But he said of obstacles that exist and will always exist.
Is that a shot at the board, you think?
Oh, what else could it be?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. The only, yeah, I guess
That
it
is
is.
blatant.
I hope it is a shot at the board. I really
Have to
hope
be.
so.
Paved the way for many obstacles that always existed and always will exist. Oh no, that you know what? I even misread that. That's 100% shot at the board because I thought he was saying I thought you said it as he paved the way despite obstacles and that exist and will always exist. I thought you could read that in a different way, but he said obstacles that always existed and will always exist. There is no other way of reading into that than he is literally taking a stab at the boardroom. 100%. And I think that's a parting shot, to be fair. I don't think you say that if you're intending to stay.
Mm.
That seems like a
You
parting
reckon?
shot
You
to me.
reckon that's going to be the last we heard of Romero of a Spurs player?
I think so. I think that seems to me a bit like a parting shot to me. Um,
Mm. And it's no coincidence that it comes out as soon as Frank is
Hundred
announced as
percent,
well.
100%.
Wow.
I wish you the best because you deserve the best. Thank you, everything. Yeah.
Some people in the comments says he's just talking about injuries.
No, no. He's not. He said from day one you paved the way despite the many obstacles that always existed and always will exist. Is he? If he's talking about injuries, is he saying the injuries we're always going to have 12 injuries? Is that what you're saying? No chance. That's what he's saying. No chance he's talking about injuries. I don't see how you can read that as injuries. Doesn't make sense to mean injuries.
Whatever he means by that, I do feel like that
I
is the
don't
last
see how
we're going
you
to hear
can
of
read
him.
any other way into it than he's taking a shot at the higher ups. I can't think of another way he's thinking about it.
Yeah. I hope he is, man. I hope he is. I
And
love
he's
taking
spoken
shots.
about the hierarchy before. It's not this is nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a very nice message to Ange. We know how close they were, and we're obviously all waiting to hear from him regarding Ange's sacking. Definitely curious timing. I don't think it's a coincidence that they've hired a new guy. Now he's basically they hired the new guy. Now that's confirmed. He's now basically saying goodbye. I feel.
He's
Uh,
waited all this time for Spurs
mhm.
to announce a manager to come out and say something.
Yeah, he's because yeah, he's pissed. Obviously, I think he's annoyed, and I think he's making it known. Basically, he's trying to take a bit of the thunder away from the Frank announcement by putting this statement out now, he knows that the board won't like that. He knows that Tottenham won't like that he's done this. 100%.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
not an accident.
Trying to take attention away from it.
Not only has he done it now, and he's also said that bit about obstacles. I think it's clear as day for me.
Mm. How do you feel about Romero doing something like that at this moment?
I understand it. I'm not going to say I like it necessarily because, as a fan of Tottenham, not of Cuti Romero, this is the time to be welcoming the new guy, ushering in the new era. Everyone should be behind the new manager and all that kind of stuff. However, understanding the context of the club I support, of how many times he screwed over managers, screwed up, and obviously Romero was very close to Andrew, just won a trophy. Obviously, I was saying, they should have kept him on, and I had that belief, and clearly Romero had that belief as well. So I think, given that context, and also the context of the hierarchy that we have, and we know that as fans we're not happy with them. We've been protesting them. Romero's spoken about them a lot, so he's basically sending a message, and I think I appreciate the message. Um, I'm not going to say I like the timing, but he's trying to get under the club's skin. I think with it, that's the feeling I get with the timing of the message.
His
But
way
it
of
seems like
pushing for a move.
yeah, it seems like a parting shot to me. It seems like a parting shot to a guy who wants out, going to go to Atletico, and he's yeah, he's basically on his way out saying there's always going to be these obstacles that exist at this football club, and I think we all know what he's talking about. I think it's pretty
And
obvious.
you know what as well, like if Levy does his usual Levy, which is, you know, drive a complete hard bargain and it goes till the end of the window and all this kind of stuff, this could get really ugly with Kuti. Kuti ain't gonna just sit there and take it like a Harry Kane did towards the end, like selling him on the eve of the season. Like he is gonna cause a proper stink, isn't he?
What do you mean? If you mean if he doesn't get his move?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think he's one to lay down and accept. Look, having said all what I'm saying, it seems like a parting shot and all that kind of stuff, and I do think it is. However, he obviously hasn't spoken to Frank, I'm assuming, just yet. And football, things change very quickly in football. I've seen it before. A player seemed desperate to go and all these kind of things. And then things can change. So you never really know. I think right now, what it seems to be is he is determined to leave. That's what that statement seems to me. That was a parting shot. He's pissed at the club for sacking Ange. Now that's confirmed. He's basically just not caring. He's basically saying there's always going to be these problems that existed. Thank you, Ange, but you overcame all the obstacles that at this club that were always going to exist, and they've been here before you. He's saying, so he's annoyed. I think he's agitating the club by putting this message out just after announcing Frank. So I think he's kind of got a bit of a red mist over him by kind of doing this in a way. He's kind of angry, I feel, but and off the back of that, I think right now he's going to be going into the when we come back from preseason. I'm sure he's all right now. Even I'm sure he's talking to his agent, get me to Atletico. But let's say the move hasn't happened by preseason. Frank, he comes in, speaks to Frank. Frank calms him down and has a conversation with him, and they iron out a few things. You never know how Frank is a very good manager, but I wouldn't bet on him convincing Romero to stay. That's for sure. But I think you
I
never know
think
in football.
Yeah, look, I think it is. Look, there is a possibility of what you're saying, but I think if he's convinced himself that he wants to leave, I think he's gonna, you know, kick up a fuss to leave. And
He seems like a very headstrong guy. Once he's made a
exactly,
decision, he's going
exactly,
through it.
Kuti will do what Kuti wants to do. You know what I mean? He's not one of these guys that are just gonna, you know. I feel like he's been here for, you know, a while now. He came under Nuno, and I feel like he doesn't think things will ever change at this football club. It's not the first time he's spoken about the board or taken shots at the board. And I feel like he thinks his time is up here, which is completely fair enough with what he's had to go through at this football club, changing from Nuno to Conte to Ange, different philosophies, and now a new one's coming in. Like from his mind, he's like, look, I'm done here. I've won the trophy. I'm not going to do anything more at this football club. And if Levy tries to keep him and tries to, you know, drive a real hard bargain and then it goes right to the end of the window, I can really see this getting ugly and him going on strike or something like
To
that.
be honest, I don't think the board are going to want him to stay with him doing that kind of stuff. I think they're going to try to facilitate a move.
Yeah.
They're going to be
I
angry.
mean,
They're
we've
not going to
seen
be
it in the
happy with
past,
him.
haven't we? With like kind of like players like Christian Eriksen, like we saw him go into the boardroom and say, "Look, I want to leave," and Spurs made it really difficult, but got the deal done in the end.
Yeah, but he wasn't taking public shots of the board.
No, look, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like I can't see Levy selling him on the cheap though.
It doesn't have to be cheap, but I don't think it's maybe he doesn't have to get top whack, or maybe I don't know. I think yeah, I don't think he's going to
Do
sell
you
him on the
really
cheap.
see Levy taking less than what he thinks he deserves?
Um, no, not based on. Depends. It depends. Depends how much. I think he's going to want a fair price. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
And
I
after
also
these
think
comments, our club's going to come in with fair prices, or they're going to try and just, you know what, this guy's going to kick up a fuss. Let's just go in a bit lower.
Well, based on the reports that we've seen with Leicester, they don't exactly want to pay a lot of money, do they? So
Exactly. So what if those are the only bids that come in?
well, then it could get ugly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, not necessarily will. Maybe they will pay money. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
And
Who
it's not
knows?
the headache that Frank needs just coming into the club straight off the bat, which is very frustrating, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think also, as much as I said one conversation with Frank, and maybe you never know, but he's basically saying these problems are always going to exist. So he's kind of saying, as long as they're here, these are going to be the problems. So like that's not a kind of language of a guy who wants to commit his future to the club, is it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So look, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
That's a bombshell there, really, by Romero. I feel.
Yeah,
Little
look, we'll have
bombshell.
to wait and see how this plays out, but doesn't make for good reading if you're a Spurs fan, because obviously you always want your best players to stay, and Coutinho Romero is definitely a world-class player, but look, yeah, in my opinion, he's got no intentions of staying, which is I can understand it for sure, but it's just a bit of a kick in the teeth. But this is what the owners have done.
Yeah, it's hard to take, and but it's understandable why he feels that way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said, you know.
It's understandable why he feels that way because we all feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Van der Ven's statement was worse. No, it wasn't. Was it? What did he say?
Van der Ven was just saying it was
Oh,
peculiar.
you mean his what he's talking about the statement to the Dutch media? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I don't know if it was worse, but I guess it wasn't great either. Yeah.
Mm.
Also, this again isn't great for going into the mind of the squad, the dressing room. It's not great. It's not great. You're kind of get with what Romero's saying and what Van der Ven is saying. You're kind of getting a little sneak peek into what a lot of the feelings in the dressing room are.
Yeah.
And I've said if Romero's saying this stuff, I'm sure he's not the only one who feels it. That's usually how it goes in
I
football.
don't. I agree with you. I don't think he is the only one that feels it. However, I think Kuti is a very different character to a lot of players that we have in the dressing room, and he's been here longer than a lot of players that have been here in the dressing room as well. So I think the majority of the other players will be swayed a lot easier by Frank, where I don't think Kuti will.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah.
Unless Kuti leads a revolt.
Oh God, can you imagine?
Imagine Kuti's leading a protest outside the stadium.
I'll be alongside him, to be fair. But look,
Okay.
that's the Kuti
What are the
Romero.
comments saying? What are the comments under the Kuti part? They all agreeing that it's very blatant. Yeah, see, I think everyone can see it really. Kuti's on the smoke. Was it many
Levy
obstacles? Please
Enoch
stay.
out. Levy Enoch out. The quicker they leave, the better.
But after that statement from Kuti, are you still like? I see a lot of people saying, "Please stay, please stay." Are you still like, if are you feeling like if he's so intent on leaving, just go, or like, are you still like, let's try and convince him to stay? Of the mindset.
I mean, it's worth a conversation. I mean, I'd like him to stay. You know, he feels the same way about the board that I feel. So I mean,
Mm.
I can't hold that against him. I
Not in a
can't hold
million
him.
years he ever going to sign a contract, though, is he?
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, if he's desperate to leave, then we need to do a deal to get him out. That's the reality. As much as I want him to stay, and I don't begrudge him for leaving, but it just is what it is right now.
burning the. This is what I'm saying. This is how I felt. Kuti felt writing that message, like anger, pure fire. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I felt like Kuti felt.
Mm.
Felt. I wonder if he was always like thinking, as soon as that Frank appointment, I'm just going to post this, or whether he saw it and was like, all right, I'm posting it now, kind of thing. I wonder which one it was. If it was pre-planned or was just a spur of the moment thing. But
I reckon it was pre-planned, premeditated.
hmm.
But look, that's the Romero statement. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you feel the same? Is he taking shots at the board? If not, let us know what you think he means by that in the comment section below. A couple more super chats. Belgian Hotspur says, at We Are Tottenham.